Hello, my friends. Welcome to this 60-minute power flow class. Today for class, you're going to be using 2 blocks. So if you don't have blocks, you can use 2 stacks of books or stacks of magazines, as long as they're roughly equal height. Go ahead and get your props, and I'll meet you back on the mat. So we're going to start off class today in a simple seated posture. You want to be able to sit relatively comfortably so that your spine can be straight and your head rests just on top. And then when you get there, let's take a few grounding breaths together, inhaling through the nose, really filling the lungs front to back, top to bottom, and then exhale fully. Let's do that 2 more times, inhaling. And as you exhale, just arriving physically, mentally, emotionally, coming onto the mat. Last one like that. Inhale. Exhale. Good. So we're going to start off class today with 2 rounds of Bhastrika, which is a skull polishing breath. So it's going to work like this. The inhale is going to be automatic. And as you exhale, it's a forceful exhale made by snapping the belly button back towards the spine to quickly empty the air out of the lungs. It looks like this. So you notice the inhale is automatic. You will notice some snot start to fly out of your nose if you're anything like me. That means you're doing it right. And we're going to do that for about 30 to 60 breaths. We're going to pause and then we're going to do it again. And the idea of this breath is to build heat in the body and to fire up the core, because today's class, spoiler, is going to be a lot of core work. So let's get ready by taking a deep breath in. Exhale, relax your face, relax your shoulders. Inhale to prepare. And begin. So you want to keep the face relaxed, shoulders relaxed, and bring your awareness to the space in the middle of your head, so like where your third eye would be. And then we want to keep up the pace. I know that the belly is probably getting tired. Try to keep up the same pace of breath, the same force of the exhale for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. Exhale, release. Inhale again to prepare. Exhale, begin again. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. Exhale out of the mouth. Inhale, breathe normally. And when you're ready, I'd like you to blink the eyes open, please. And I'm going to start class off by talking at you, everyone's favorite part of yoga. So we're going to do a bandha class today. What is a bandha, you might ask? It translates into an energetic lock in the body. And there are a few of them. We're going to focus today on the Mula Bandha, the root lock, and Uddiyana Bandha, which is the second lock. So to find Mula Bandha, I want you to picture the 4 cardinal points of your pelvis with the pubis in front, the tailbone in back, and 2 sitting bones on either side. And then finding the point that's in the middle of those 4 landmarks and pulling it up into the body. So it's going to feel like you're doing a Kegel. And then relax that. Let those 4 points kind of spread apart. And then we're going to inhale, pause at the top, find Mula Bandha. So find that point, pull it up, feel the contraction, and then exhale, keep the Mula Bandha. And you might feel it draw up a little higher up into the body. Pause. Inhale, release Mula Bandha. Belly expands. Pause at the top of your inhale. Again, find Mula Bandha. Keep Mula Bandha, exhale. Lifting the pelvic floor. Pause at the bottom of the exhale. And then inhale, release. Good. So Mula Bandha is roughly located where our root chakra is, at the base of the spine. And it's associated with stability in our lives and stability in our pelvis. It's also the site where apana vayu, or the downward moving energies in the body, exit. And obviously some of those energies are necessary for things like urination, defecation. But the yogis believe that we want most of the energy, most of the time, to be moving upwards, up the central channel, called Sushumna Nadi, towards the crown of the head. And this is thought to promote vitality and eventually to lead to enlightenment. On a more practical, anatomical level, strengthening the pelvic floor muscles is going to prevent things like prolapse and herniation, and it provides a really stable foundation for advanced yoga postures like arm balances and inversions. So, come into a tabletop. And we're going to spend the next 10 to 15 breaths opening up the spine and warming up the wrists. So there's many different ways that you can do that, and I want you to find out what feels good for you in your body today. So some cat-cows, maybe wagging the tail side to side, finding some lateral flexion of the spine, looking over the shoulder. And then you can flip a hand over and start to work the hips forward and back, flipping the other hand. Now, these are all just suggestions. I want you to freely explore. Feel free to tune me out and just work on building the breath and opening up the spine and starting to warm up the wrists. We are going to be spending some time on the wrist today, so this part's important. And if you need more time, go ahead and pause the video and take the time you need to make sure that your hands and your wrists feel warm. Good. Let's take one more breath here. And then we're going to find neutral table. So the next bandha we're going to talk about is Uddiyana Bandha. It's located just below your belly button, and this lock also directs the energy upward. It can also direct the energy downward, so it's kind of like a pressure valve. We want to focus on directing energy upward in this class today, and that's going to give, again, the lift that you want in your low belly for more advanced yoga postures and a very strong core. So this bandha is located at your lower spine, so it works on stabling the top of the pelvis and the lower and middle spine. So from our neutral table, we're going to take an inhale, feel the belly sag, and then as you exhale, pull the space just below your navel up towards your spine. And then as you exhale, see if you can hollow that space out even more. Like a dog, you know, their low bellies are kind of hollow. Good, and then inhale, release that. So notice if there's like tucking of the tailbone, the spine shouldn't really move. This is coming from the front body and the lower core. Pyramidalis, transverse abdominis, your low core muscles working. We'll inhale again, belly expands, rib cage expands. And then exhale, find Uddiyana Bandha. Inhale, release. Pause. Uddiyana Bandha. Exhale, pull Uddiyana Bandha in even more. Navel in and up towards your sternum. And then inhale, release. Come into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. So again, I'm going to give you about 10 breaths to just explore your dog. So I can tell you things to do till I'm blue in the face, but ultimately I'm not going to know what's going on in your body. So I want you to take these opportunities to become your own teacher and feel what wants to open in the body today, feel what maybe doesn't want to open in the body today. Still working on building the breath, letting the breath be the foundation of every posture, building the posture around the breath rather than the other way around. Good. Take another breath. And then find some stillness in your dog. We're going to inhale, belly relaxed. Pause at the top. Now we're going to find Mula Bandha and Uddiyana Bandha together. And then exhale and see if you can find those locks. Fortify them even more on the exhale. And then inhale, we'll keep the locks this time. Feels harder to inhale maybe when you're first starting this bandha practice. Exhale. Again, inhale. Keep your bandhas. This time the right leg is going to lift up and back, three-legged dog. And then exhale. Let's bring the right knee forward towards the right tricep. And we're going to hold here for 5 breaths. So we're high on the left toes. We're sucking the right knee into the tricep a lot. And the bandhas are helping us get lighter in the right hip flexor, the right knee, so that we can lift the knee up towards the armpit. Good. Hollow out the low belly, create more space. Stay here for 1 more breath or take a push-up. Keeping the right knee zipped up into the tricep, chaturanga your arms, look forward. And then press up, straighten your arms, extend the right leg up and back, three-legged dog. Inhale. Exhale, right knee, left tricep. Same thing. 5 breaths here. We're high on the left toes. I want you to think spinning your outer left hip down, inner left thigh up, and then hollow out your belly more and get the right knee higher on your left arm. Good. Inhale, three-legged dog. Last one. Exhale. Find your bandhas if you've lost them. Draw the knee into the chest. Hollow out the belly and make space across your chest so that the knee has room to move through your arms. Take your shoulders forward. Keep pulling belly in. Make the space. Lift your right knee and step in between your hands. Rise up, high lunge. Take a few breaths. Relax your belly. Relax your pelvic floor. Good, and then we're gonna find this again. You can keep the hands up or take them to your hips. A lot of bandha work actually originates in the legs. So to demonstrate this, I want you to think pushing down into the center of the right foot and the center of the ball of your back foot, and then dragging those 2 points in towards each other, and that's gonna lock the pelvis into place. Now you might already feel a lifting in the base of the pelvis or your Mula Bandha area, lifting when you do that. I want you to continue that lift and then find Uddiyana Bandha and lift the arms up. Good, and then exhale, drop the back knee down, take the hands to the heart. Find your twist, but don't go all the way into it. So again, starting from the legs, imagine that you've got something in between your thighs that you're going to squeeze. Now I know that that's impossible to do, but that will just turn on the adductors, your inner thigh muscles. And then from there, find Mula Bandha. Uddiyana Bandha draws in and up. And can you continue that lifting through the spine, all the way up through Uddiyana Bandha, up through the whole spine, crown of the head. So there's one long line of energy up from the tailbone to the crown and starting at your legs. Good, and then we're gonna twist around that long line of energy. Feel the inner thighs working. Twist your belly button outside of your right inner thigh. This is how all of your twists should feel. There's a lot of work here going on to keep the spine long. And that's gonna keep the vertebrae, or the cartilage between the vertebrae, nice and buoyant. So we're not compressing bone on bone and then twisting. You can imagine that over time that would not be so good for your bones. Good, and then change. Look down at the floor. Rise all the way up. Reverse triangle. Reach the right arm up and back. This is your little reset. Stretch along the right side body. Take a peek under the right armpit. And then come back up. Arms come to a T. We'll find Trikonasana, triangle pose. Make sure that the front heel is in line with the back arch roughly. Thumbs up, heart wide, shoulder heads down. Sashay the left hip back, reach the right hand forward. And then when you can't reach forward anymore, we'll take the right hand down to your shin, to your big toe, or to a block on any setting. I want you to feel your adductors here. Turn on your inner thighs, and then squeeze Mula Bandha and hollow Uddiyana Bandha, lift it. So it's almost like we were still in our twist, this long line of upward moving energy through the spine, culminating in the crown of the head. Breathe here. Look down at the floor. Bend your right knee. Frame the right foot with your hands. Step back. Chaturanga. So you'll make your way through one vinyasa series. And I want you to think about the bandhas as you move through these very familiar poses. Paying special attention in your back bend about what happens with the bandhas. So nothing should change, really. But it's a little counterintuitive to think that you would be contracting core muscles while lengthening and extending the spine. But indeed, this is going to stabilize our spine in the back bends. Good, downward facing dog. Let's take a breath in through the nose together. Exhale, HA from the mouth. Good. Let's do all that on the other side. Left leg lifts. Don't look so excited about it. Left leg lifts. Inhale. Find your bandhas. Exhale. Take the left knee to the left tricep. High on the tricep. Come onto the tips of your right toes. Squeeze your right thigh. And then lift your left knee higher as you hollow out the belly more. Feel lighter through the left hip flexor. Stay here. Or push up. Three-legged dog. Inhale. Exhale, left knee, right tricep. Spin the outer right hip down more so that the right hip is not hiking up, the hips stay square. Hollow out the belly, lift the left knee higher on the tricep, and then inhale, three-legged dog. Last one, exhale, left knee to chest, powerful through the core. Lift your pelvic floor, hollow out the belly as you slide the left knee forward in space. Hollow out the chest by pressing more into the hands. And then make more space to step through. Rise up, high lunge. Take a few moments here. Regain your composure. Hands come to the hips so they can stay up. We're going to press down through the feet, pull them energetically in. Lift pelvic floor. Lift Uddiyana Bandha. So it might feel like you're working really hard to find these bandhas right now. And that's normal, especially if you're just starting. Over time, the movement, the energetic lift becomes much more subtle. We have multiple layers of muscles in these areas. And so when we're first starting, we tend to contract all of them, and maybe even ones that aren't involved, as we try to just establish those neural connections to the muscles that we want to target. But over time, that awareness becomes more refined. We can target the innermost muscles, the smallest muscles, and maybe even just energetic lifts. And it doesn't even take much muscular activation at all. So just be patient with yourself. This is a lifelong practice. It will continue to unfold. Good. Drop your back knee down. Take your hands to your heart. Find your twist. And then same thing as the first side. We'll turn the adductors on. Lift pelvic floor. Lift your low belly. Extend all the way out through the spine. So the back of the neck is long. And then twisting around the spine, feeling the core supporting your spine. Did you lose your bandhas? Did you lose your adductors? Look down at the floor. Inhale, reverse triangle. Reach back. Hands come to a T. Setting up for Trikonasana, second side. Thumbs up, slide the right hip back, reach the left arm forward, and then take the hands down, or one hand down. Find your bandhas, find the length in the spine, a slight tucking of the chin. Let your adductors turn on, let the legs be strong, and the weight pressing firmly down through both feet. Good, look down. Bend your front knee. This time we're going to step to the top of the mat. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Arms reach up, lengthen the waists. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Tailbone back, crown of head forward. And then exhale, bend the knees, flatten the palms for Bakasana prep, crow prep. Bakasana is one of those postures that's really good for practicing bandha strength. I don't even have to cue it so much, it's just kind of built into the posture. But I'm going to cue it anyway. So we'll root down through the center of two palms. You always want to make sure that your hands are flat. We'll come up high on the tiptoes so that we can nestle the knees into the armpits, or at least in back of the elbows. From here, you might just play with tilting the weight forward into the hands, finding bandhas, and then maybe lifting some toes, maybe lifting 2 sets of toes. If you can lift 2 sets of toes, bringing the toes in towards your body, and really working on bandha strength so that we're not collapsing all the way into the arms. There's this lifting, energetic lifting happening. If this is easy for you, straighten your arms more. Bring your knees up higher. Squeeze the triceps in towards midline. Lift your toes towards your tailbone. Look forward. Inhale. Exhale. Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Pause. So you've probably been to a yoga class or seen on a yoga video that you can transition from up dog to down dog without just tucking the toes like this. It's this graceful slide. That comes from bandha strength. I'm going to show you how to do that. So it starts the legs. Again, press down into the tops of the feet, lift the kneecaps. Find your bandhas. And already you can feel that there's this lifting motion that's starting to happen in the pelvis. We're going to continue that motion to hinge at the pelvis. Good, so this strength, this movement is coming from my low core. And as you do that, the weight gets lighter on the toes. You might even be able to drag them forward slightly. And as you drag them forward, you have room to roll over the toes so that you're in down dog. Good. Good. So the stronger your bandhas are, the less weight is going to be on the tops of the toes. So it might feel like there's a lot of like crunching happening. That's when you lose the bandha strength, the weight drops down, right? We're counteracting gravity with the bandhas. Good, drop your knees down and grab one of your blocks. And before we do that, actually, let's come back into our down dog and find dolphin. Forearms come down. You can stay in this long dolphin here, or you begin to walk the toes in. And then when you feel like you're at the point where usually it's your edge, I want you to find bandhas and allow that to lift the tailbone up overhead. And as you do that, notice that there's less weight in your legs, so you might be able to walk the toes in more. Good. Keep pushing into the forearms. Allow the neck to be loose. Breathe. One more breath. Good, drop your knees. Good work. Okay, now we want our block. So this is a fun little exercise that is a good practice for a handstand tuck. And it's also good for working that deep core strength that's needed to get into a handstand tuck or handstand press. So we're going to start with our block on the lowest setting, or again, a stack of books. It can be any obstacle, really. And it's easier to start it closer to your feet than towards your hands. We're going to come down into a down dog, and we're going to focus on jumping over the block, getting the hips as far over the shoulders as we can to catch a little hang time. If you can't catch any hang time today, it's no problem. That's what we're working to, and that's what the block is here to remind us of. So we'll look forward. We always want to be looking where we're going, not at the block, not where we don't want to go. Come up high on the toes, and then bend the knees. Find bandhas here. And when you're in the air, I want you to think bandhas. We're working on that neural connection, right? Look forward, jump the feet over the block, jump back. And you can do that a few times. And if that feels really easy to you, you can work the block on the medium setting, maybe even the high setting. Or if you just want to play with handstand tuck, you don't need the block at all. So what we're going to be doing is jumping the hips over the hands, like I said before, and then working on holding that tuck position. Down dog. And then look through. We're going to jump through to a seat. If this is not in your practice, we're just going to try. So we want to find the lift of the hips first. That's going to allow us to gather the legs in toward the body into a tight little ball so we can sweep the legs through without letting them touch the ground. Hands a little wider than shoulder width. Ooh. All right. Turn to face this way. Grab both your blocks. Lolasana. Come onto your knees and take both of the blocks if you're using them. You don't need to use blocks, you can use your hands. We're going to be doing a few of these though, so I recommend using the blocks if you have them. You can also take them on a higher setting. The higher it goes, the less stable it will be. So for Lolasana, we're going to inhale, find bandhas, and then exhale, press into the block, lift the knees into the chest. So you might start here resting on the tops of the feet. That's already a lot of work, right? Or you can start to lift the feet, push down at the blocks as you pull your bandhas up, up, up Squeeze your hip flexors. And then come back down. So we're gonna do that 2 more times. Lolasana. If you can barely lift your knees off of the mat, that is doing the work. That's called practice. And that is how we eventually get to the places where we wanna go, is by trying. So wherever you are, know that you are doing the work that is best for you, and that wherever you are getting stronger. Make sure that you're not holding your breath in your Lolasana. It's very easy to do that. Good. And on your last Lolasana, can you cross at the ankles, bring the legs through, and sit down? That's also good practice for the jump through that I just talked about. So finding that lift of the core and the deep contraction of your hip flexors to slide your hips through your hands. One day, right? All right, let's do something else. Come to sit with your feet in front of you. Take the hands behind your knees. Sit up nice and tall. Tuck your chin. Exhale, go back. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, go back. Inhale, come forward. Do this a few times. Just cultivating some playfulness and massaging the spine as we go. Keep your chin tucked. So don't bang your head. And then I want you to maybe even close your eyes so that you can tune into what is stopping you at the top of your roll. Like what's stopping you from keeping rolling forward? It's your bandhas. So you already have an unconscious awareness of these muscles. It's activating them in times when you wouldn't necessarily feel like you need them, but recruiting their help to get you deeper into postures and to advance your practice. Good, let's pause at the front. Ubaya Padangusthasana. Peace fingers, grab the big toes. If you can't straighten your knees, it's not a problem. You can keep them bent. Or you'll extend the legs. Find your bandhas. Spread your collarbones and slide the shoulder blades into your imaginary back pockets. And then look up, still your gaze, and breathe. Listen up. Keep everything the same. Just release the hands forward, Navasana. So what does it take to stay in that tight V shape? You really got to squeeze your bandhas, find the lift. Probably your core is tired now. I know mine is shaking. Stay with it. Fingertips come down, thunderbolt. Bring the forehead towards your knees. Really pull the belly in. It's okay to let the shoulders round here. Forehead to knees. Knees to forehead. Big breath in. Big breath out. Inhale, bend your knees, hands to the back of your thighs. Exhale, go back. Do this a few more times. Let your hip flexors relax, recover. I'm going to meet you back at the top of your mat for Upavishta Konasana. This is from the Ashtanga Primary Series. Peace fingers around your big toes again. This time we're going to split the legs wide. So if you can't straighten your legs, just keep the knees bent. It's no problem. And then these are one of the only postures in yoga where we can pull. We do a lot of pushing. So I want you to really pull the legs back. Find your bandhas. Also find your inner thighs. And you're probably like, yeah, duh, my legs are working here. They're shaking. Can you find your inner thighs too? Still your gaze. Breathe. Can you smile? The hard work is almost done, my friends. Release your hands. Take them forward for extended Prayer mudra. Keep the V shape. Point through your toes. Pull the thighs back towards you. Lift through the back of the heart. Good. Hands come down. Pull the legs back towards you. Bend the knees if you have to. I'm going to bend my knees. Sit up straighter. Anterior tilting of the pelvis. Pelvic floor draws in and up. Good. Grab the back of your knees. You did it. Go back. Come forward. Woo. Good. And we're going to come all the way forward to a seat. Staff pose. Hands can come down by your sides. If the wrists are feeling like this flexion is just a little bit, or this extension is too much, you can just take the palms face up in your lap. Sit up nice and straight, tailbone to crown. Flex the toes back towards you. Find Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha. And then breathe. Reconnect with that breath. Slow the heart rate down. Blink the eyes open. We'll come into Janu Shirshasana A. Don't worry, we are going to do work at the end to open the hip flexors and the core back up. We're just not there yet. Janu Shirshasana A. We're going to take the right heel in towards the left inner thigh to start. Square the hips off towards the front of your mat. Flex your left toes. Lift your arms. Feel pulling into your pelvis of your left inner thigh and the slight moving backwards of your left sitting bone. And then pull your pelvic floor in and up. Hollow out the low belly, lifting through core. And then hinge forward. You can grab hold of your shin, your toe, the bottom of your foot, maybe grabbing the wrist. And we'll keep the gaze moving forward. Inhale, look up. Exhale, release. Switch sides. You can move the left or right booty meat out of the way. Square off the hips. Find the sucking inward of the right thigh bone. Flexing of right toes. Find bandhas and then begin to hinge forward. It doesn't matter how far you go in the posture. I'm looking for that straight, sturdy spinal column. You can look at your big toenail, see how it's doing. Or you can look somewhere else. I ask that you keep your drishti, your gaze, on one point. Where the gaze goes, our mind goes. Inhale, look up. Exhale, release. Okay, long sought after back bending. We're going to start with Ustrasana, camel pose. Come to stand on your knees. So we'll work with bandhas in back bends. Now again, I told you at the beginning of class, sometimes we find bandhas and we think that it's like this tucking of the tailbone and then flexing of the lower back to remove the C curve. Nope. That's not it. We want to keep this C curve in our low back, in our back bends, and we want the tailbone to be nice and mobile. But we do want to find stability in front of the spine. So we'll lift pelvic floor, find Uddiyana Bandha, find the squeezing of the legs energetically inward, not literally. Good. And then from there, you feel really supported in your base, right? So from there, we'll get a little bit more buoyant in our heart. So think back of the heart puffing up towards ceiling. Make sure you're not clenching your tailbone. Maybe lift your chin. You can take the hands onto your butt. And then wherever you are, just breathe there. You don't have to touch your heels, but you can. Inhale, come up. Exhale, sit. Sweep the legs forward. Setu Bandhasana, bridge. We're going to do 3 more of these. So if you want to stay in bridge, great. If you want to do 2 bridges, 1 wheel, some combination, also great. And do what's best for you today. So I'm going to start off in bridge. And again, we'll find our bandhas without tucking the tailbone. So finding that core activation, pressing down into the center of 2 feet. You actually have bandhas in your feet as well. The center of 2 feet. Press down. Keep the Mula and Uddiyana Bandha and then lift up. Make sure the tailbone's mobile, but that the hamstrings are engaged. If you feel like maybe they're not, put more weight into your heels. Keep inner thighs moving in towards one another and down. And then come down after 3 to 5 breaths and go for 2 more back bends of your choice. So if you don't want to do bridge or wheel, you can do something else. Or if you're feeling like back bends are just no good today, you can skip it. You can take supported bridge by putting a block under the back of your pelvis. Quality over quantity here. Making sure that we're doing these postures safely is the number 1 priority. And try to keep the bandhas engaged until you come all the way down. And then finding them again. And again, that's just going to encourage those neural pathways to strengthen. Deepening our body awareness. So good. All right. Oh, give the tailbone a few rolls, the pelvis. Side to side, forward and back. And then we're going to start to slow it down here. We'll find Anahatasana, or heart pose. And just check on time. Okay. So we'll start in table. And we're going to keep the hips roughly over the knees as we walk the hands forward. Come down with the chest in between the arms. And then from here, you can take your forehead down, or your mouth down, your chin down, maybe the front of your neck down, doesn't matter. And for some people, we're not going to be here that long. For some people, though, they start to get numbness in their arms, or like a sharp sensation. So if that's you, you can bend one elbow, and take the hand on top of the opposite arm and rest your forehead on the forearm. You can even do that with both arms. Feeling the heart melt. Let your belly be soft. Let your pelvic floor relax. Take another breath cycle here, no rush. Slowly come up. So re-extending the arms if they're bent. walking the hands in towards the body, and then setting the hips back on the heels. So we're in a balasana, child's pose. And then slower than slow, let's drag the hands in towards the knees, coming to rise to virasana, or sitting on knees, or sitting on heels, hero's pose. Head and neck is the last thing to roll up. Roll the neck a few times. All right, so we're going to move into reclined saddle. It's called in yin, or reclined hero's pose. You may be able to go very deeply into this posture, or you might not. So for hero's pose, we're going to sit inside of the feet. Tops of the feet are down. If this is already too much on the knees, too much on the ankles, you'll just come and sit on the heels like this. And you'll stay right there, and that's going to put some stress on the front of the ankles and in the knees. And this is, as long as there's no pain, this is good stress. This is going to help those connective tissues open slowly at their own pace. If you feel okay sitting between your ankles, you can try to walk your hands back. Now, if this is like you start moving back and it's like, nope, just come right back forward and you're going to stay upright like this. You might be able to come all the way down on your back, arms overhead. If you can, awesome. I cannot. So you can rest on your forearms behind you if you want, or on your hands. If you'd like a little more than that, but you can't go all the way back, I like to make this nice ramp with my blocks. Oops, I'll do it this way. You can put them on any setting, so that your spine can be supported to the degree that you need. And then you can adjust them. I like the lower block right in between my shoulder blades, the upper block underneath the base of my skull, the occiput, which is where your skull begins to bulge outward from where it hits your neck. And wherever you are is enough. Close your eyes if that's comfortable, or soften your gaze, and just allow yourself to breathe. Almost like the body is being breathed. Two more rounds of breath. No rush. We'll come out the way we came in. If you're reclined, come onto elbows first, then onto hands. Remove your blocks. Come forward. Sweep the legs forward. Straighten out the knee slowly. Flex the toes back towards you. Ooh. Do a little foot dance. Good. All right. Moving into Baddha Konasana, or butterfly, it's called in yin. We'll take the soles of the feet together and the knees out wide. If your hips or your inner thighs are tight, you have blocks or supports. You can also use pillows to put underneath the knees to take some of the stress out of the adductors. If your hips are very open, you can place a block or two underneath the feet. That's going to increase the stress on the hip flexors. So deep external rotation in the hips. And then from there, I don't mind if you want to round your back forward. And you can take your head onto a block or onto 2 blocks. Or you can just let the head kind of hang down, and you'll feel this opening along the whole spinal column as it rounds. So when we do postures and hold them for longer periods of time, even longer than this, we're getting into connective tissue. Fascia, ligaments, tendons. These tissues have more collagen than, say, our muscles, and so they're stiffer. And so if we apply strong repetitive stress onto less elastic tissues, they're going to break. So to target these tissues, we actually have to sit in poses for a while so that they can slowly open. But it is possible to make them more pliable, more resilient. And in fact, it's beneficial. Just as long as there's no pain, so we know that we're never passing our edge. One more breath here. Slowly come up. You can take hands outside of the knees to help the legs back together. Sit back. Windshield wipe the knees a few times. We're going to finish off class with Bandha, the great lock. So finding all 3 of our spinal bandhas. We'll find Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha. And then the last one is Jalandhara Bandha, which is at the base of the throat. So we'll extend the chin forward, hollow out the base of the throat, and then tuck the chin down. All 3 of these together is called Bandha, the great lock. So we'll inhale here, relax. Exhale, relax. Inhale, pause at the top. Find Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha. And then Jalandhara Bandha keeps the energy from moving too far up. So it contains the energy in the body. Exhale, keep the bandhas. Fortify the bandhas. Inhale, release. 2 more. Pause at the top. Mahabandha. Exhale. Inhale, release. Pause at the top. Last time. Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, Jalandhara Bandha. Exhale, hold. Inhale, release. Lie down into Shavasana. Allow the front of your brain to melt down into the back of your brain. Allow the front of your torso to surrender into the back of your torso. And let the front of all 4 limbs collapse down into the back of all 4 limbs and into the ground. So that the body is dead weight. It is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. She looks back at the path she has traveled, from the peaks of the mountains, the long winding road crossing forests and villages. And in front of her, she sees an ocean so vast that to enter, there seems nothing more than to disappear forever. But there is no other way. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk of entering the ocean, because only then will fear disappear. Because that's where the river will know. It's not about disappearing into the ocean, but of becoming the ocean. Fear by Khalil Gibran. My friends, feel free to stay in Shavasana as long as you are called to. But this is where I am going to leave you. I am deeply moved by your commitment to better yourself, to better the world that we share. And I am honored to be part of your journey. Thank you so much for practicing with me.